Now I won't sound stupid.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Rob. I'm here with Mike and Joe. This is the Hogs, Hops, and Hope podcast. Hot takes, cold beers, zero credentials. Welcome back for another exciting show during the semi-off season of the NFL calendar year. We're between minicamp, rookie minicamp, OTAs, and we're waiting for full training camp to open. And that's going to start on rookies are going to report July 18th. As we do this, it is June 18th. So we got a month before rookies report to full training camp. And then the veterans report on the 22nd of July. So we got a little time before everybody shows up and they start getting knee deep in the hoopla and actually practicing and things like that. It's been more window dressing so far. Before we get too involved with tonight's show, I wanted to mention something. So I listened to John Kimes' podcast, and he just had his 1,000th podcast. I forget how many years he's been doing it, but he usually does during the season. He'll do a couple a week. In the off season, he might do 2, maybe 3 sometimes. And then probably over the next month, he'll probably just do like 1 a week. But he brought on, he got some of his guests to, do the whole like, hey, congrats, John, on 1,000 podcasts. And I can't believe you did that and all that. So I thought we'd do the same thing in honor of this is our 19th podcast, which is about 15 more than I actually thought we would do, quite honestly. So I thought we'd play a little clip of all the guests that we've had on coming in and saying nice things about us. So I'm going to roll that. Okay, great. So that was fun. Someday we'll have guests, but anyway, no, it's this is our 19th episode, I believe, and yeah, it's been I've had a lot of fun doing it. I hope you guys have, and anybody who's watching and listening, I hope you guys have enjoyed it.
Yeah,
so
last week's was weak, but this week we'll probably get back on track.
Yes, I should say welcome back, Mike. We did miss you. And don't worry, I saved all the bad stuff we said about you off camera. So, in other minor news, Sam Fortier, reporter for the Post, is leaving the Commanders beat. He's going to be doing more national news for the Washington Post. But wish you all the best, Sam. Sam's real fun to interact with on Twitter, and he does some really good articles, columns. And I've actually stolen some ideas for some of the stuff we've talked about on this podcast from what he's written. So thank you. And then the other thing we have, it's actually no information. We talked about Noah Brown being injured, and there has been zero news from the team about his injury. Not anything, not the results of an MRI, not even what the injury was, not a timetable of how long it will take before he's ready to go again or anything like that. And word on the street is that we won't hear anything until training camp. So with that being said, do you all have any concern about this? Because I think when we talked about this originally, when it happened, that none of us were overly concerned. He limped off the field. They took him back to the building on a cart just for precautionary reasons. But the fact that they haven't released any information, does that give you any concern that maybe it's a serious injury that they're waiting to maybe get a second opinion? And of course, pure speculation. I'm not trying to say that's what the case is, but I would have thought that if it was nothing, they might say that. So do you all have any concerns about no information on his injury?
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, if it was I'm with you. I think if it was nothing, they would have said it was nothing. So it gives you pause that there's no word and some concern, but we've got time. So let's I'm not going to get too worried about it right now.
Okay. Joe,
I think they're playing a game. Yeah, I think they're playing a game a little bit. Like no one's working. They're off. Everyone's on vacation, and it's like it's none of your damn business. We're dealing with it, kind of thing, and we'll find out how it goes. So I've been looking every day. I'm checking to see if there's any update, and I haven't seen anything. But I did see that Noah Brown this Friday He has an event going on that he's going to do photographs and autographs, and for some Rumble clinic girls, pre-clinic and clinic, varsity girls. So he's doing this event on this Friday. So maybe some reporter is going to be there and ask him a question. Who knows?
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I forgot because we didn't do it last week, so I don't want to forget. I'm back to my Sierra Nevada Pale Ale because I didn't go to the store, and this is what I had in the fridge. So, Prost.
Okay, so I've got a Jack's Abbey House Lager. Can't get more generic than that, but this was when I was picking up a bunch of 6-packs on sale. So I think it's from Massachusetts, not a local one.
All right. What you got, Joe?
I felt like I had to kick it up a notch, tired of Miller Lite and Bud Light and all those. So I went and actually, I went and found a better beer. It is a blueberry wheat beer by Abita, which is a Louisiana brewery.
Blueberry beer. That's interesting.
Blueberry wheat beer.
Blueberry wheat beer.
Mm-hmm.
I never used to eat blueberries up until a couple of years ago, and then I realized I really love them. So maybe I should try something like that.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Is it?
I'm enjoying it.
Is it good?
Yeah, I love a wheat beer.
Okay.
And,
So
it adds just a hint of sweetness. What's that?
I was just gonna say, is it just a wheat beer with a hint of blueberry?
Yeah.
Okay, I could probably do that.
Okay.
I'll give you a sneak peek. I have another blueberry wheat beer from a different brewery. I almost went on a whole theme and bought a whole bunch of different blueberry ones because my beer store had a bunch. I was like, whoa, I didn't know this was a thing. So, but I only bought 2.
All right. I'll keep an eye out for something like that. So as far as everything else that's going on, there's nothing new. Again, there's no more OTAs. We got a month off, as Joe was saying. They're basically on vacation at this point. They're in the wind. Nothing's going on. There's nothing to report. There's no trades going on or anything like that. So the one question I wanted to ask the two of you was, we got a couple new players this year between, all the draft picks and the 2 big trades for Samuel and Tunsil. Is there one player that you're looking at who's new to the roster this year? Maybe there was a free agent signing, even like was it Dedrick Wise? There's all these guys that they signed. Is there a player that you're saying, hey, this is the guy that I'm kind of looking at because I think, I think he could have a big year, or I hope he has a big year. Maybe someone that you're excited about that's new this year. Is there any one player that stands out for you? Joe, I'm going to go to you first, but
Sure.
It's, like last year, everyone was excited about Jaden Daniels. Like that's who everybody would have said. Who are you excited about this year? It wasn't necessarily, Bobby Wagner or Frankie Louvu. It was, McCaffrey, whatever. It was all about Jaden Daniels. That's it. That's all everyone's focus was on, and he delivered. So with that being said, who is it this year? Because there's not that one standout person that they got in the draft. There's not necessarily that one standout person that they got a free agent signing or traded. I mean, maybe you can make the case for Tunsil, but who's the one guy that you say, this is the guy, I hope he has a big year. I think he could have a big year that could make a big difference for the team.
Yeah, I think I'm going to say Tunsil.
Okay.
I want him to have a good year. I want him to have a great year. I want him to be, the best left tackle there is in the NFL. I want him to protect Jaden Daniels. I know it's not a super sexy position. It's not the big splash position like an edge rusher or the quarterback. Even wide receivers sometimes are big and splashy. And I guess you could make the argument for Deebo Samuel, but I want Tunsil to have a great year. I don't know that he will, but that's my hope.
Well, I would say it is a big position. I mean, it's your left tackle. But
it's not a splashy position. It's not like the The only time anyone recognizes the offensive line is when there's a holding call against them. You know, that's the only time anyone knows them, and they're like, "Who's that son of a bitch that held?" Oh, it's number.
Doesn't he get a bunch of those, or does he get false starts?
I think it
I
was
think
false starts last
He's
year.
false start. Yeah, you're right.
So
But I mean,
hopefully his
yeah,
number's not called a lot by the refs.
yeah. I mean, look, and his presence does allow the team to move Coleman to left guard, which is the plan. They've all but said that directly, and you know, that just changes the offensive line. So I can definitely see that. You know, that was, you know, because what, 5-time Pro Bowler or something, you know, but so yeah, that could have major ramifications for everything else. It gives Daniels more time in the pocket, maybe makes better holes for B Rob and the rest of the running back crew and that type of thing. So I can see that. Mike, what do you got? Who you got?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think I'm most excited about Matt Gay. Oh, sorry, just kidding. We're not talking about kickers. No, I agree with everything you said. Tunsil, um, I don't know that excited is what I'd say. I know there's some potential drawbacks to him. I mean, we've seen he's not necessarily a team player and he goes out and does his thing, but I'm excited to see if he can go out there and be that Pro Bowl or do those things, everything you guys were just talking about, and give Jaden time in the pocket so he's not scrambling, he's not having to run, and can make some plays. So I most optimistic about him. I think he could have the biggest impact. And look, we've talked about the offensive line being a major problem for a while. So I think, you know, I'm curious to watch him, see what he does.
Okay. I'm looking at Trey Amos, the cornerback that they drafted,
Okay.
because obviously the corner position has been a mess for this team the last couple of years. I mean, it's been as bad as the defensive line was last year. The cornerbacks have probably been the weak part of the defense, and you know, thankfully, St. Juice is gone. We don't have to deal with him anymore. And what was I've already forgot his name. The cornerback that they drafted in the first round that wasn't very good at all, and they cut him. I know he was a previous regime, so no one really cares, and they say it doesn't count. But they've had a rough time, and they brought in Lattimore last year on the trade, but he obviously didn't play for several weeks because he was injured, and he's had an injury history. I know everyone said it during the OTAs. He looks great. He's perfectly healthy and all that stuff, but still the jury's out on that. And while they have Sandstreld, the idea was he was always supposed to play the slot, not the outside. And so if Amos can come in and start, which I think he should, because he's a second round pick, and as I've said before, I'm a firm believer that a first and second round pick, you're drafting them to start. That if he can start and play effectively on the outside, then that moves Sandstrel to the inside, and that makes that secondary that much better. And that will help. They could use more interceptions. This team had, I think they were like worst in the league when it came to interceptions in the fourth quarter last year. Things like that. So the defense just really needs to step up, and he's important. If for some reason Lattimore is injured or isn't as effective as he has been in the past, or like he was in New Orleans, then more than likely Amos could become the number one corner on this team. And I mean, that's a little scary that the second round pick could be in that position, but I think that's who I'm kind of looking at to see how he performs and steps into that role. And hopefully he will be starting. And then, like I said, they can have three really solid corners, which they have not had in a very, very long time. So I went to the defensive side to
No, I mean,
for my guy.
I think, even listening to you talk, that kind of makes sense. What you're talking about is sort of the offsets the missing piece for me in this offseason, that we didn't get that edge rusher. So we did the top tier edge rusher who will, get the sacks, things like that. So the next step is we need quarterbacks who won't let the passes, whatever quarterback we're up against has time to throw, those guys are going to have to do something about it. So it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have someone who can cover. And we haven't had that. So I mean, you could look at and say Dedrick Wise, Javon Kinlaw. Apparently it's funny because Kinlaw is someone that I don't think fans are overly excited about that signing, but apparently the team is because they have history with the guy, and so I think he could have an impact. I think he really needs to have an impact, but I'm not overly confident about that. So. But I think Trey Amos is a guy that could. I don't know if he could. I don't know if he can do it. I'm hopeful that he can, and that's the guy that I'm looking at to be the difference maker in his first year for this team. But if I looked at the offensive side of the ball, then yeah, Tunsil. I hope I'm wrong with this. I don't think Samuel's going to have a huge impact on this team over the course of this season. I think he will have maybe a game or two where he's the focal point, but I don't think he's going to be the big wild card or whatever you want to call it. So I'm not sold on that move. And again, I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But yeah. So the offensive side, I would agree with both of you that Tunsil is obviously the big move there, and he's got to perform for this team to be effective.
I'll say this about Samuels. The stats at the end of the season may prove you right that he doesn't put up big numbers. But if he becomes that, well, we talked about this before, having a second target that defenses have to cover that opens Terry up, and Terry's numbers are better, it may have been worth it. But we'll see.
Right. Contribution is not just the final numbers. Does he block? If he's the decoy, like you said, assuming that Noah Brown is not seriously injured and he is back, then those are your three starting receivers: Noah Brown, Samuel, and Terry. That would be my guess anyway at this point. Samuel's the wild card because he can line up in the backfield. He goes in motion a lot and all that. So he can have plenty of impact without posting big numbers. I just don't know. I'm just not sold on it. And that's, shocker. I'm a pessimist about it. But I do think Tunsil can bring something. Having Tunsil is a good move, as long as he doesn't lead the league in penalties again. I suppose it could still be a big move even if he did do that. Because, like I said, if you're moving Coleman, who was a starter for you last year, into left guard, which most people thought was his more natural position anyway. So right there, you're improving the offensive line. And Connerly, drafting him, assuming he plays out, then you're going to move Wiley maybe to start the season to right guard until Cosby comes back. And again, Wiley, when he was with Kansas City, was a guard. He played some tackle, but I think he was mostly used as a guard. I mean, the Tunsil trade was big in that aspect. And I have more confidence in Tunsil having a bigger impact than I do Sam, I guess is maybe what I'm trying to say. But yes, Matt Gay is going to have a huge impact on this team.
I was just going to say, sure, we don't want to talk about Matt Gay for a bit. I mean, we make fun of it. What if he starts hitting some clutch field goals and wins some game? Midway through the season, we'll be like, thank God for Matt Gay.
He's going to hit a 60-yarder in overtime to win a game at some point. And that's going to be an entire podcast
or something.
And we'll all show up with Matt Gay jerseys on. But yeah, I mean, that's all I want to talk about today. I don't, again, not a whole lot going on with the team. There was some news. I didn't see any articles. I just kind of heard some, I don't know, jibber jabber from some of the people who cover the team that might be a little bit of a delay when it comes to the stadium. I guess the city council they weren't able. Mike, you might have a little bit more information about this, but
honestly, it's It's everything we talked about when we talked about the stadium before. It's the politics of it. It's
Yeah.
you've got politicians saying we shouldn't spend this money. You've got people saying it's a lot of money, tax money, things like that. So yeah, I mean there's a little bit of noise about it, and the mayor has kind of come out and said, basically you guys need to get this thing done. We're on the clock, and they are. So I don't.
Okay.
What is the? I think the deadline is like July 15th.
Yeah,
So
for city council and their budget or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So well, to approve it before the commanders can look elsewhere
Right.
if they don't have it by July 15th. So got a few weeks. We'll see. I'm not. If to me it just feels like politicking and people doing their chest thumping to, make it known that they don't want to spend $1 billion. Blah blah blah. We'll see what happens in a few weeks.
Well, I did hear that some of the people on the council who have come out and said they were going to vote no, just regardless, they were going to say they were going to vote no, still think this all will get done, even with their no vote. So I didn't bring it up to say this is not going to happen or anything like that. It was just more of, yeah, kind of noise, like you were saying, Mike. It's just something to fill the time between now and training camp.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But there's, until training camp gets going, there's not going to be a whole lot of news coming out of Ashburn with the team. They did announce the joint practices, when those were going to be with. They're doing one with the Patriots and with the Ravens. The joint practice with New England is going to be August 6th, and that is at New England, because I guess that preseason game is at New England, so they'll do a joint practice there. And then the Baltimore joint practice will be on August 21st. And I guess that will be in Ashburn. So that's always the team officials always say that's a better indication than preseason games of where some players are. So those will be interesting to get some news out of those practices.
Okay.
I don't know, any other things that popped up? Anything on you guys' minds you want to get out and talk about and get off your chest?
I saw a couple more clickbait titles of TJ Watt being traded to us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What are we giving up? Like a 4th round pick or something?
I didn't, you know what? I didn't even give him the click. I refused. I was like, no, you don't deserve this. This is garbage.
So
he will get his deal done.
Along those lines, and I've not given the click either, some clickbait articles about Terry McLaurin and how commanders should be worried, and he's blah blah blah, not gonna, he wants more than the commanders are gonna give, and they're not gonna. It's just all scare tactics, right? Just clickbait, bullshit.
Well, with Terry, I know we're not in the prediction business, but I'm going to ask this question anyway.
What's our prediction?
Well, no, because I think we're all in agreement that Terry's going to sign a contract, and that it's a non-issue with that. The question is, do you think it will get done before training camp or just before the start of the season? Because I fully believe that Terry's going to be there week 1. I don't think that's an issue. But do you think it will, that they're maybe with a month till training camp, that there's not a focus on worrying about getting players on the field, et cetera, that type of thing, that maybe they can focus a little bit more on the administrative side of things, as it were, and be able to get things done before training camp? Or do you think this is something that, I don't say drag on, but will take a little bit more time? We know sometimes these things don't get done until right before the season. So Mike, what do you think? Just
No, it's a good question. I hadn't really thought about it. It feels like, everybody talks about he's going to get a however 3-year deal, 30 million at least. And I don't know what the upside would be unless there are some actual disagreements over, that the team doesn't want to give him what he wants. I don't see the upside to letting it drag on. I think they could get it done before training camp. I think you want him there. I mean, he's,
yeah.
So yeah, I think they get it done.
Joe?
Yeah, before training camp, he'll be there.
Okay.
He'll be there for training camp, I hope.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't want it to be a distraction. I will say this though, because I know we don't really focus on other teams, but in Cincinnati, their first round draft pick has not signed his contract yet.
Yeah, did you hear about that? As to why?
Because Cincinnati has wanted to put in some language into so first of all, rookie contracts are on scale. So you know how much you're making. That's a non-issue. Cincinnati put language in there, something to the effect of that if he has any issues, that they could cancel the contract or withhold funds or something along those lines. Like, it's almost as if, a player's had a bad history of being a malcontent or something like that, or someone like, maybe this isn't the best example, but a Deshaun Watson, he had all those cases of people accusing him of improprieties and stuff like that, that maybe you put a clause in a contract that says if you're convicted of this or whatever, then, you lose your signing bonus or something. And apparently Cincinnati's put some language, something along those lines in the contract, and the rookie's like, you haven't done that for anybody else. I'm not signing this. And so Mike, you mentioned, yeah, there's been a lot of talk that basically Terry's contract will be about a 3-year, $90 million contract, give or take a few million. But maybe there's some language in there that might be a hiccup.
Right.
And again, I have zero idea. I'm just saying that could be something that would hold it up. That's all. I don't think it is, but that could be the wrench in it all. But Joe, had you heard anything else about that Cincinnati situation?
No, you hit the nail on the head there. I was hearing that basically it was a clause that they were adding to a contract that has never been applied before, and it's like, well, this is a new guy, let's stick it to him. And it's like, what? Why are you doing this? You've never done this before, and yet the first person you're doing it to is this kid. And I know nothing about him, so I don't know if he has some history that warrants having that kind of clause. But when you hear him talking, he doesn't seem like that type of person.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything there. I'm taking a quick look to see if I can find a story on it.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking.
Let's see. I just thought it was interesting because, like I said, there's not much to rookie contracts nowadays. Right. But Cincinnati always seems to have some sort of issue.
Yes, they do.
I mean, look at they can't get Trey Hendrickson solved. Let's see.
They locked down their 2 wide receivers this year, though. They gave them all the money.
Well, you got to keep Burrow happy. Well, so what I found interesting about this was so the player we're talking about is his last name's Stewart, Shemar Stewart. He's a defensive end, which makes it even more interesting now, especially since Trey Hendrickson they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with him. Yeah. He's holding out. Let's see. The sticking point is language in the contract that could void guaranteed money in future years. For example, if Stewart were suspended, even for on-field reasons such as leading with the crown of the helmet or other similar penalties, that could eliminate future guarantees.
So if they just get a bug up their ass, then they don't care for him. They could find a way out of the contract.
Right. That's what it is. And the interesting
thing is
Stewart could sit out the entire season. And so it says if he doesn't sign a contract by August 5th, which is 30 days before the season starts, Cincinnati cannot trade him at that point. So they could trade him now, even though he hasn't signed a contract. They could trade his rights to another team if they wanted to. The next major deadline is November 11th. If he's not signed a contract by then, he's ineligible to play for the rest of the season. If he never signs, he can re-enter the 2026 draft, where every team is eligible to pick him except for the Bengals. And then, or he could go play in the CFL or the XFL, or I guess it's called the UFL now, which, by the way, the DC Defenders won the UFL title. And if he went and played in the CFL or the UFL, Cincinnati would retain his rights for as long as he was playing over there. So I just found that interesting, and that's something that could play into any contract negotiation is how things are worded. Again, I don't think that will be the issue with Terry, but stranger things have happened.
Yeah, and you're right. And I'm not worried about that, because the fact that it's Cincinnati and they're playing games with Hendrickson, and like they're now I actually agree with him. He's like, I just want what the last however many first round picks got. So it's not like he's arguing over something. He just wants what others have gotten. So I don't know what's going on in Cincinnati, but they're way messed up. Must be the water in that city up there.
Something.
People from there ain't right.
Hey, but their baseball team just swept the best team in the league this last weekend, so they got that going for them.
Yeah, well, who cares about the Reds?
I was waiting for that. Well, that's all I got. You guys, last chance. Anything you want to throw out there?
Nothing for me.
Joe?
Nothing for me. I'm good.
I guess that wraps things up. So as always, we appreciate you watching, tuning in, listening, however you're finding us. Of course, we're only on YouTube right now, so that's how you're finding us. But you can hit subscribe if you haven't already. We are up to 14 subscribers. Yes. And don't forget to click like and leave a comment if you want, because that definitely feeds our fragile egos. But until next week, thanks so much for tuning in. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.